Hello, my name is Josh, and I'm a watchaholic. Welcome to Horology Insanity. What is up, my watch friends? So check this out. Today we're taking another look at this Skyraider V2. This is the blue Meteorite dial, which if I can get it in the right light, you'll notice that that's what it is. But I want to talk about how in most lighting conditions, it looks like this. And it doesn't look like it's very blue or very meteorite. But I want to do that and show you what I'm talking about by holding up a whole bunch of watches to compare it to. So with that, if you haven't seen my kind of quote, not a review of this one yet, we'll link that right up here in the upper right hand corner. You can check that out. But this is really a sequel to that. So I would go check that one out first and then come here for this. Now, the first one that I held it up and compared it to was my V1 titanium blue dial, which is one of my all-time favorite watches. Now, I also have the Meteorite titanium Skyraider with the blue accents, but that's on loan right now to a buddy, and so I can't hold it up here to show you. But we talked about the differences in these in the first video, so I'm not going to do that much here. We'll just pile these up. And of course, I'm wearing this red black tip. I'm kind of still in the honeymoon phase with this thing, and it's pretty cool. And I say that as someone who doesn't really love red or wear a lot of red, but yeah, this thing is just fun. Anyway, so with these, what I want to first compare it to is other blue meteorite. And so let's take a look first at my Mako V2 bronze case blue meteorite. And I have a regular meteorite here. This is the Visionary V1. So let's maybe do this in a progression method. So you can start out by seeing what the V1 kind of meteorite looks like and the striations that it has. Now, over the years, there's been different cuts, and every single one of these dials is cut differently, and the striations in it are different. So you could have two of the exact same watch sitting next to each other, and the dials are going to be slightly different. Now, with that, Elshin has progressed from just doing the standard meteorite, which he still offers in a lot of watches, but he started offering them in different colors. This is the blue meteorite that I have. And you can notice that even though it's a little dark, you can still see and make out the striations in the dial. Now, in certain lighting conditions, it does look dark, but when I compare it to this, it looks like he's using a different coating on the newer blue meteorite because the striations are much more difficult to get unless you really play it at the right light or maybe have it outside in full sun. Compared to where the old one, it didn't need as much light for you to be able to see the texture of it. Now, we'll go one further. This is a newer release. This is the blue meteorite, and I almost have to zoom in for you to be able to see this one, because these, you almost can't tell that they're a meteorite dial at all, even when you get them into the light. The striations really aren't there. I don't know if the blue coating on them really, affected that or not. But Elshin actually mentioned that he was not pleased with these when they came in. So he did have 10 that had both the blue meteorite dial and bezel. And then he made like 150 of these into this Timascus bezel. And these are kind of being referred to as the Timascus Lite. And so it's the blue meteorite dial, standard titanium case with the Timascus, the blue Timascus bezel that you can see lights up with the different shades when you hit it. But you'll notice that even the difference between the coatings on these two is very different. And neither one of them look like my old Mako. So it's very interesting to see the coating process that they use and the way that that plays out in the different watches. Let me keep going along because I want to show you a couple of other meteorites. Now, the next one that I want to look at is a much lighter shade, But you'll notice that it has the same coating kind of applied to it, but just in a very different color. But you can see that even in the varying light conditions, you can see the striations in that. Like from across the room, this hammerhead, that dial jumps off of this watch, and it's amazing. Now, part of me thinks the brass case and the patina that I've got on it help with that because it's so shiny and it gives it a contrast. But you can see here that I really have to get this thing like pointed right at my lights to see the blue one. But when I tilt down, the blue one kind of goes black, while the brown one on the left still kind of glints and glitters. So that's a little bit different. Again, different coatings. They're all meteorite, but they're all kind of different. The last meteorite I have to show you is actually a new one I just picked up from my buddy Jonathan. This is bronze, and it has this kind of very, very dark gray, if not blackish, coating on it. But the reason I wanted to share it was because you can notice that even at this angle, you can still see the striations in this. And so the reason I mention that is because some folks, you get this watch and you really don't know it's blue until it hits a certain light, because otherwise it just kind of looks black. Now, again, a couple of comparisons. Here's my overall take, and I'll share this one with you. In my opinion, this watch might be best described if you said that instead of it being blue meteorite, because when people see meteorite, they immediately think texture. They think of something like this. Well, maybe not that outlandish. Maybe they think that hammerhead is bright, so they think of texture. Maybe they think of something like this. Okay, that's what I think people think, and they probably thought, hey, I'm going to be getting something like this, but in the shade of blue. That's not necessarily what this blue Meteorite Skyraider is. So, at least not in most lighting conditions. So you can see there, it just kind of looks bluish black. But here's what I would say. If you're familiar with enamel dials, okay, or like glass, porcelain type stone dials, what this blue meteorite on the wrist looks like to me is a very, very, very deep blue, like beyond navy blue, right? Closer to the shade of black, but not black. Still being blue, enamel. That's what this watch comes off on in person. And if you're familiar with enamel dials, right, I've got one here. This is white. But you'll notice that there's a glassy, right, porcelain style texture to the dial. And it's smooth. It looks like glass, like a freshly glazed pot that went through the fire and was painted and coated perfectly. That's what these look like. And to me, this blue meteorite looks kind of like a very dark enamel dial. Now, let me hold up one last comparison, because this one was a limited edition Zelos that was partnered with the folks at Stitches and Buckles, and it's called the Adamas Terra. And this has a Sodalite, which is a stone cut dial. And if I zoom in, you can see that it's blue. It's definitely not as dark as the blue meteorite, but it's got a little bit of texture into it. And all these dials, again, are different too. If you look at all the pictures of the Adamas Terra, you're going to see different striations, different cuts. I wanted a very, very blue one, and I didn't want a lot of the copper and the lighter color in it, even though some other people, I think that's maybe what they preferred. And so I really wanted like a blue stone dial, and that's what I got. And so when I look at this and I wear this one, and then I wore this and experienced it, the Skyraider is basically a darker blue version of this stone Adamas Terra. So I think for anybody out there, again, if you thought you were getting a blue meteorite and you really expected to see the striations, that you can see I can get a little bit of that when I hit it in the light strike. But if you thought you were going to see that all the time, I could see how this might be a little disappointing for you. However, if you hopefully watch this video and you see how I explain and show you the differences, and if you like blue enamel or porcelain type dials and you like the look of them, then this blue might be right up your alley. Because to date, other than this Adamas Terra, right, which technically still isn't an enamel dial, right, but it's the closest thing, to my knowledge, that Zelos has to an enamel dial. And so this blue meteorite, even though it's really not enamel, it kind of looks like it. So anyway, that's my take. As usual, these things are sold out. Almost all Zelos are always sold out. I did notice that Elshin put a cool thing on the website. If you go under collections, there is now an in-stock option. So that if you do want to actually see what's in stock and available to purchase directly from Zelos, you can do that now with that option. But the Skyraiders, you're not going to see these there. You will see some on the secondary market. As usual, I do not recommend paying a steep premium to the scalpers and all of those scumbags that buy these just so that they can attempt to profit off of the limited availability and the people that did not have the opportunity to buy one when they were released. If you join the Zelos Timekeepers Facebook group and you really go on the hunt for one of these, you can probably find one at cost or at a reasonable markup to cover a person's shipping and time and that kind of stuff. But yeah, what do y'all think about this blue Meteorite Skyraider? In normal light, when I'm just holding it here, does it look blue? Does it look like meteorite? If I do that a little bit, I try getting the light. What do y'all think even when it's in the light? If you got this, would you love it or would you be a little disappointed? And if you knew up front that it kind of looked like a really dark blue enamel dial, might you have appreciated it more? If enamel dials are your thing. I'd love to hear what y'all think. Until we talk again, my friends, please remember what really matters. And if that's not watches, keep the insanity sane.